And the question has to be, what can I do in order to change something deep within me in order for allow that light to shine?
Hello and welcome to Spiritually Hungry.
Very excited to be here with you, Monica, and with our listeners.
Me too. So today we're going to talk about a common emotional state, one that's not great.
How common?
It's pretty common.
Really?
One that's not great, but it's also not suffering, which is why it's so easy to miss. It's also easy just to ignore. It's a place where life isn't falling apart, but it's not exactly inspiring either. You're waking up, you're doing your routine, you're tending to your responsibilities, you're checking your emails, you're checking your inboxes and your outboxes and your lists. Everything's skipping along and you're doing fine, but the thing is, you're not fine. You're not unhappy, but you're definitely not lit up. You're far from suffering, but nothing is exciting. There are no breaking points or crises, but there's nothing happening on the other end of that spectrum either. It's all just very meh.
Meh.
Meh. The definition of meh is an expression of indifference or mild disappointment. So I think a lot of people are in this area, and some of those emotions are feeling bored, unimpressed, apathetic. You know, when our kids were younger, I remember there was one day specifically. It's a beautiful day. We're living in California. It was sunny outside, backyard, swing set. And one of the kids came in and said, "I'm bored." And I looked at them and I said, "That is a bad word in this house. And if you're bored, I have an idea. Go get a shovel and dig something and go look for worms." Like whatever, but that word's never allowed, because once you allow that to be a state of existence, you're already kind of checked out on some level.
It's interesting. I completely agree. The only thing I would say is that, right, not to confuse boredom with a state of not doing anything, because those states are actually really important, right?
No,
Boredom
we're
is
going
a
to get
state-
there. I'm
yeah,
not talking about being unbusy, which is one of the points.
Right.
Like, no, but
Right.
bored when you're just like, "Ugh, just excite me,
Right.
fulfill me." It's a very external expectation from the world. That's what I'm saying. So, and actually why I want to talk about this today is because it's on the rise.
Is it? Oh, I didn't know that.
It is. I've actually been asked to speak on different news stations on this topic. And then I just got asked to speak about it again in 2 weeks because they're seeing it a lot with the younger generation, that everything's just meh. And again, you're going through the motions, but more on autopilot or mindless scrolling or overscheduling even, or overworking. Life is productive, but not meaningful. And that's the real key. And then people think that that's just life. And then they stop searching for meaning. So, well, let me ask you, why do you think that so many people are living in this fog of meh?
Okay, so this,
I have 4 reasons, but I want to hear what, let's take
I have
turns.
one very important reason.
Yours is probably my number 4, but go ahead. You always start with the one major. Yeah.
The reason we came into this world is not just to exist. We came into this world, I was going to say to reveal light, to do important things, but really what we're here to do is to transform, to change, meaning we came in a certain way with what you call in Kabbalistic terms, tikkun, to transform, to change. And as an effect of that change, to bring goodness into this world, goodness to one person, to 10 people, to 100 people, to the world.
Can I just pause for a second?
I was just in a flow.
No, I want you to go in flow. But I think that what happens often, so I was thinking about this too. We do know a lot of people who take their spiritual work very seriously, right? Their change. No, we know. And I guess in our community or our circles. But even that can be dangerous because, and that's why the second part of what you said is so important. And that's why I stopped you. The idea of change, it still becomes very much about me. My experience, what I need to change, and we're becoming better people. But that's not really the point. The point is to transform the parts of us that aren't even, it's not about being more sharing or more giving or even more considerate. It's about changing those aspects of ourselves that maybe is selfish or whatever that is, and then using that energy, which is still an energy that's not, say, a positive one, transform it into positivity. And that kind of transformation, then you actually are considering the world, because that kind of change is so uncomfortable.
I think that's a very, very important point.
I think people, especially in spirituality, they kind of like, and that leads you to, that's in meh also. You can be spiritual and be in that state of meh.
For sure.
Because, you know, And then you look at life and you're like, well, why am I not happy? Why am I not lit up? Because it's still in that realm of me. And
right. So that's the reason why it's interesting, but not a coincidence that the first two letters of meh is me. So I think it's a very important point, and I want to underscore it by sharing a story. So our listeners might or might not know the Kabbalah Center was founded really in the 1920s of the previous century by Rav Ashlag, and then continued by a student, Rav Brandwein, and then by my father, and then my parents in the late 60s, early 70s. And the Kabbalah Center does many things. It publishes ancient works. It teaches wisdom. But there's a letter that my father received from his teacher where he sets forth what was the purpose of the creation of this organization. And I would say probably the purpose of any true spiritual study, wisdom, work. And he says, we found that a lot of people use their spiritual study, work in the wrong ways. And at the core, the purpose of spiritual study is only one thing. Love. And that's also true, but this is not what this letter is about. He says for the individual to look inside and see the things that he or she needs to change. And once you do that, you don't have time to be complaining about other people. You don't have time to be looking at other people. You just don't. But
again, not in the realm of what you could be better at. That's already kind of in your nature. Like, let's say you enjoy giving.
I was about to say,
right.
What is it about me that needs to change?
Right. Not improve.
Okay. Because, right. But let me just say,
go ahead.
Change. And because when you look at where some people take this, what I need to do for the world, imagine that you don't need to do anything. But imagine that there's a lamp, and what you are, to some degree, is a concealment of that lamp. You're a piece of cloth put upon that light that's supposed to shine. So you don't have to shine light into this world. What you need to do is fix what it is about you. And this doesn't make you a bad person, because every single one of us came to this world because it's something that I have to change in order to allow the divine light to shine in the world through me and in the world. So what I do for the world is much less important than how I change to allow light to shine. Mm-hmm. So I think most people, even spiritual people, do not focus in this right way, which is and that includes you and me right now. We're spiritual people. We take our spiritual work seriously. Right now, as we sit here, we are blocking the light of the Creator from shining. And the question has to be, what can I do in order to change something deep within me in order for allow that light to shine?
Right. 100%. And I usually pick one thing that's really not in my nature. And it keeps showing up, and I'm recognizing the signals. So I keep asking the Creator to give me strength to change that, because it's not in my nature, right? It's not an easy change, right? But it's the most important change.
And to finish up the thought, so once that's our North Star, once I understand that I'm in this world, and as long as I'm in this world, right? So I just don't become a spiritual giant or saint by age 40 or 60 or 80. While I'm in this world, that means that there needs to be a tikkun process happening, a transformation process that's happening. And because that is the purpose for which in this world, and the whole spiritual system is geared in that direction, when I am failing or falling short of how much I need to be pushing myself to change and to grow, the blessing is I will feel meh, meaning something is, everything seems to be ostensibly fine, but there's something not, like you said, lighting me up. If I am in the right process of changing, I will feel inspired. I will feel connected more and more all the time.
And by the way, because I think the other thing people don't realize, you won't just feel inspired in the one area you recognize as maybe being stuck or feeling uninspired daily. You will now be inspired by all aspects of your life, because we are, and I keep telling everybody this, we are body, mind, and spirit. All of those aspects of our being need to be addressed. That's why we're living in a physical world. Now, of course, you don't want to be too much body focused and too much mind focused. It is the most important thing is that you lead with soul, but you have to take care of those other aspects of being. So what will happen is when you get excited about your life, right? You get excited about your purpose, then you get excited about other things you want to partake in. And it could be even as simple as you enjoy singing, you're going to take singing lessons. You'll start to go out and say, okay, I want to experience and truly live all the aspects of my life. I want to show up for myself. One of my favorite quotes I read once, it was a show I didn't actually watch, but I read this quote that she had said, and the character said, I want to do something about my life while I still care enough about it to do it, right? Because when you stop actually showing up for yourself, you stop showing up in every area. And then eventually you don't even have that desire.
Right. I just want to, again, just to really underscore the idea that therefore feeling meh is not a punishment or a bad thing.
It's a wake-up call.
It's a beautiful message of love from your soul to yourself. There's more than I need to do here. So it's hopefully it reframes for our listeners.
Right. I think sometimes people judge themselves like, oh, I don't have enough drive or ambition or passion or desire, and that person just does. No, every single human being is meant to be in this state of constant growth and really just being excited to be alive. I mean, this past week, one of our good friends had a real health scare, and it was crazy. We didn't know. It was really scary. And she texted me. She just got home from the hospital a few days ago, and she texted me yesterday. But the way she worded it, of course, anybody who's had a near-death experience has this understanding. The way she worded it, she said, I will never take for granted being alive ever again. And now she's fully awake. There's no meh in her day. And what she does with it now is up to her. But that we shouldn't wait for those kinds of wake up calls, God forbid, or we're not meant to stay in that
Absolutely.
state.
And again, the understanding is that within you right now is all the inspiration and all the excitement for life that you need. You just have to do the work of removing those veils that are not allowing you to connect to that right now.
Okay, so I think that there are 4 reasons why people stay in the state of meh. The first is comfort without purpose. Many people have stability, especially in this day and age. It's about stability and convenience. You want something, just, go to your phone, you push a button, you order it, and they're missing meaning and passion. So I think the first thing is for our listeners to ask themselves where they're at in that stage. How much of their life is more based on convenience and comfort versus really looking for those places where you're passionate, but also there's going to be some discomfort there.
Right. I think it's an important point. One of my favorite quotes from the ancient Kabbalists is, and I actually quoted this past weekend when I was giving a lecture, that if you worked hard in a difficult way for something and you've earned it or you've done it, you can trust that that is true. And if you didn't invest difficult work or challenging work or uncomfortable work into whatever it is that you're accomplishing, by the way, it could be raising children, it could be giving a class, it could be sharing with your friends. If you didn't do something that made you uncomfortable, then you can't really trust it. You can't trust the effect of your actions. And I think that's—
What does that mean, trust?
Trust that it's real. Meaning, you want to be a good parent? The question has to be, in your parenting, what are you doing that is uncomfortable for you? What are you doing that you don't want to do? What are you doing when you don't feel like doing it?
So it's like a gauge to know if what it is that you desire is in actuality.
No, what I would say is that whether you're actually parenting right? Mm-hmm. And it has to be that part of your the act of parenting, not 100% of the time, but sprinkled
that
into
aspect.
An aspect, something that makes you uncomfortable, mm-hmm. something you don't want to do, something you're not inspired, let's say, to do in that moment. And that's true about every part of our lives, that in order for it to be true, it must be something that we are doing that is, like you said, not comfortable for us, not something necessarily we feel like doing right now.
Right. And so the parent example, that could even be having a conversation that's hard or difficult, or it could be you're exhausted and all you want to do is just the thing that you want to do, but then you push yourself. So it can show up in many different ways.
Right.
The other way that people get stuck here is overstimulation, which you wouldn't think is an automatic, but there's too many things going on at all times. Sounds, lights, distraction, phone, noise, Oh, it's snowing outside. Sorry, I just got distracted. See? Our nervous system is constantly flooded with news, texts, content, multitasking, and we get overwhelmed. So being in that constant, like, go, 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 robotic, but like an engine, you can have true burnout. And I never really experienced that until the last couple of years. And then I have to stop myself and say, okay, this kind of momentum is not, you're not getting any further in where you need to go.
Right.
It's actually making you want to do nothing at all.
Right.
The third is emotional walls. So I think we've all been hurt. We've had betrayals, heartbreak, loss of trust. And so sometimes we unconsciously check out. Like, I don't really fully want to participate because I want to protect myself. But when you live in that way, you also stop yourself from experiencing joy. And what I have found, whenever I start to feel threatened from something external, if I feel a negative energy or I've heard something, this actually happened in a dance class this morning. There's one person who is like obsessed with me in not a great way. And I could see her staring at me. And so what I did is I put a big smile on my face and I danced even harder and I enjoyed myself. Like, I lit up joy and happiness within, because the opposite is, again, checking out. And the fourth is disconnection from the creator. So that's what I thought you were really going to lead with, which you kind of did. But meh is often a sign that we've drifted from our purpose, our desires, awe, gratitude, desire for growth. It's the soul really whispering that this isn't enough for me. And we need to listen to that whisper. So I have a quiz for us to do.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to say something first?
I was just going to add, I think an important...
Do you have another point of the
Yeah, a few. But one which I think is really important, and it touches upon what we were saying earlier, that the work has to also be done in times that we're not excited about it. And it's based on a very fundamental teachings from the Zohar, the foundational text of Kabbalah. And it says that light is not light, meaning why are we in this world? Not just to reveal light, like we said before, but rather their ancient Aramaic words are nehora migo chashucha, which means light out of darkness, which means that necessarily we're going to experience in life those moments. Now, darkness doesn't have to be some terrible occurrence. It could be meh. And the question that we have to ask ourselves in that moment, am I going to push myself to do, to share, to connect, to study, whatever it is that we feel is going to connect us, like you said, to the light of the creator, especially in those moments that we're not feeling it. Because if you want to know whether you're accomplishing the purpose for which your soul came into this world, how many things are you doing when you don't feel like doing them? So one of the reasons why we go through those moments of feeling uninspired is because there's great light for us to reveal, alchemizing that grayness or darkness into great light. And that's really why we're in this world.
Yeah, I think that's such a huge point, especially when people might even have a real reason, right, to be down about something. But then what happens is we take that and we run with it. Then we go to WebMD and we look and we see and we get consumed by this, right? And then we, first of all, don't try to see the light in the situation. And we just get stuck in that state. And we're like, well, I have good reason. Look, this is what my lawyer said. This is what my doctor said. This is what my neighbor said, whatever it is. But still, and of course, things are hard sometimes in life, and we hear things and we experience things that we don't want to. But the only way to the other side is not to get consumed by that darkness, but say, okay, I know, and this is the key, that I'm not meant to suffer in this lifetime. That is not why I came to this world. I'm meant to grow and be happy and transform and connect to my soul and my source. And all these opportunities and experiences that I have, both good and bad, are just for that reason alone.
And again, what we're adding to that is that those gray feelings or those gray moments are purposeful. They're not coincidental. They're not a mistake. They're not a punishment, but they're meant to be some sort of springboard towards more light, towards more connection.
And I think that if the easy way to get around to that is if you have made up your mind that you want to live your life that way, then you don't allow yourself to go with how you feel in the moment. You go what you think is the most purposeful thing for you to do that day. Right. That's a very different way to set up your days.
Absolutely. And what I would say is that if we're going to talk about tools, there's one tool that for myself, and I do recommend for our listeners. Often what our soul is lacking is wisdom in the spiritual teachings. There's a an ancient teaching that my father's teacher gave him, which is that the soul is like the body, right? The body we have to feed in order for it to live, in order for it to breathe, in order for it to think, in order for the body to be able to function. So to the soul, that if you feed the soul, how do you feed the soul? Through study, through deepening your understanding of the spiritual system, of your soul, of the creator. And that oftentimes, if you don't do that on a consistent basis, suddenly the soul stops feeling. And a lot of the meh feelings that we have, or those uninspired moments that we have, is an effect of our soul being slightly asleep or greatly asleep because we haven't nourished it enough.
So for instance, if the body, like the less you eat, the less you eat. So you stop eating a lot of food, your stomach shrinks, and you don't really desire to have that much more food over time, right? So the soul's the same way. You stop feeding it, it stops signaling to you that it needs more and wants more.
And therefore what I do is, again, I try to do this every single day, but I recommend for our listeners, especially if you're going through a moment of meh, really push yourself to study, to read something, to listen to something, to watch a video, to listen to this podcast, until you feel inspired, even for a second. And you'll notice that if you're consistent with that, and you start feeling your soul becoming awakened, and you make sure not a day goes by where there is, whether I read for an hour or study for 20 minutes, I get to a moment of inspiration. If you do that consistently, you'll see your soul become alive.
And I think the other key there is that study with the intention not to be smart or even to be more spiritual, but to really ask to be awakened, inspired.
Have your soul alive.
Alive. Okay, so let's do a quiz. And I think it really actually supports some of what you just said. And let's see where we are on the meh scale. So I hope all our listeners will do this with us. Do you feel excited when you wake up? Yes.
Yes.
When was the last time you felt?
Well, there's some days you don't, but most days, right? I think we're talking about here on a general average, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I feel excited, but I also feel irritated or annoyed. But still excited. It's not that you're not going to have other emotions, right? Sometimes you didn't have sleep, or you heard something, or your phone woke you in the middle of the night with something annoying. Those kinds of things. When was the last time you felt moved to tears, or was awestruck, or laughed so hard it hurt? Can you think of something?
Yes, I can. And I would strongly recommend it. Again, this is a great theoretical physicist, Nobel Prize winning, I believe, Richard Feynman. And he has a YouTube video about the speed of light. And I won't go into the details now, but if you get a chance to watch it, I believe you'll be tremendously inspired. So
you're so funny.
I watched this the other day, and I can't stop talking about it to whoever will listen to me. But the point is,
well, you didn't tell me about it.
See, I know you probably didn't want.
Well, now I'm curious. No, okay. not like right before bed, but
but let me just.
I mean,
the point is that for me, and again, not necessarily true for every one of our listeners, but for me, often you want to have a sense of wonder, like I can't believe this is true, right? So there's a lot that current physics teaches that is just, I would say, beyond spiritual. Like sometimes that information inspires me even more than other spiritual books that I read. So, like the point is that I think it's really important to live with that sense of wonder. And all you need, by the way, there's another great video of his that speaks about how fire works.
Okay, send it my way.
I will. But I'm saying to our listeners, It's on YouTube. Live with a sense of wonder, and if you need that, whatever it is for you, some people it's for reading poetry. For some people, it's studying spiritual teachings. For me, sometimes it's learning these unbelievable truths about even the way physics views our physical world, which are beyond spiritual. Live with a sense of wonder, and if you're not currently experiencing that, push yourself in that direction.
So mine was laughter. It was actually last night in my dream.
You didn't tell me.
I did tell you. Okay, it was about you. You had like a really...
This is what you're going to share.
Well, that's the last time I laughed. I mean, even if it was in my sleep, because then I continue laughing today. You had like a hairdo, just like dreadlocks in the back and a dreadlock ponytail from the front. And you were giving a lecture, and every time you were talking, the ponytail in the front would fall on your face.
Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'm going to do this.
I had so much fun.
Nice.
In my sleep. And so anyway, that continued today.
I hope it made our listeners laugh.
If you, I should draw this. I have like this visual as if it's like a real photograph.
You should animate it. You should do an animation.
I should. That should be the cover for this podcast today.
Yes.
And then 2 days ago with my girlfriends, we had a good laugh about something. And just when you just can't get the sentence out because you're laughing so hard. Okay. How often during the day do you feel lit up, passionate, or in flow? What would you say the percentage?
Depends on the day, but I would hope, more than 50% is what I usually try for.
Yeah, I would say it's higher. I'd say the stress sometimes stresses us to the point where the excitement's a little bit different. But yeah, I'd say it's higher. I would
say for our listeners that to try to get to a place 50. Where it's more than 50% of the day, you're feeling inspired, excited, feeling a sense of wonder about life, about the world.
Do you spend most of your free time scrolling?
No.
Do you keep busy to avoid your thoughts or feelings? No. I'm always talking about feelings. I'm very busy with that. On balance, do you make choices based on comfort or growth? Growth.
I mean, by the way, to be clear to our listeners,
and let's be clear. That's the next thing. There's nothing wrong with comfort, but the real question is: do you primarily seek comfort over growth? Right,
and the answer should be no.
Right. Well, funnily enough, one of our kids on Sunday, we had such a busy weekend, Friday night, Saturday night. And then Sunday, there was a wedding and I worked out a little bit later on Sunday. And then I came home and I just wanted something warm to drink before I was taking one of the kids out that I promised I would. And I wanted to be with her, right? But I heard the words because I was running a little bit late, but you said, and I was just like, I keep every word. I show up all the time. I keep every commitment and I pride myself in that. Like you said, don't bring that up. Like I'm always, but yes, comfort is not the choice for sure. It's growth. And again, if it wasn't so easy for our listeners to answer that, I think this is also just to consider if you're not sure about which one, is it comfort or growth? After a long day, the last thing most of us want to do is to help with homework. When a friend has a need or calls during the only hour of the day that you've blocked off to do something very specifically, do you answer the call? How often do you do the uncomfortable thing and stretch beyond your nature? I mean, that's really what choosing growth over comfort looks like.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I want to give one more practical tool, and that is add Technicolor moment daily, which is not a reinvention, but just one real moment. So let's say you're in the car and you play your favorite song and you really feel it to the point where you're like busting out. I try to do that every single day. Actually, I pretty much do. Or you call someone and you ask something, a deeper question, or, you walk with headphones or without headphones and you make conversation with somebody else. Like just put yourself in an uncomfortable situation where you are fully feeling whatever that looks like. So the opposite of meh isn't happiness. It's consciousness, present emotion, engagement. Meh isn't a personality type. It's a signal. It's not who you are. It's a message that something needs to change. So I would even say, try doing things imperfectly, just to see what you're excited about. Like I'm going to take singing lessons because I enjoy singing, but really fully show up for your life while you still care enough about it to do so.
Absolutely. And like we said before, it's actually a positive message from your soul. And when you view it that way and you embrace it and you find what change it's calling you to do, you will look back and say, I'm so happy that I felt that meh feeling, that great feeling at that time. So I'd like to share at this point one letter from one of our listeners. It's a little bit long, but I found it inspiring. And maybe for some of our listeners who are feeling a little meh, this will inspire them. So it's from Winona. Dear Monica and Michael, I wanted to share this experience / shift in consciousness that I would not have had without Kabbalah. I am deeply grateful for the wisdom, the Kabbalah Center, and the opportunity to continually learn and grow. Thanks from the bottom of my heart. Sending love. When you're going through a challenge, ask yourself, what prayer is being answered? I was praying for trust and certainty. I was tired of constant worry loops and the pressure I put on myself, which led to health issues. I just wanted to feel supported, calm, and rested. Instead, I started waking up every morning at 5 a.m., anxious and exhausted. In parentheses, the opposite of what I was asking for. The pain was intense, burning eyes, a tight throat. I felt utterly exhausted, like I hadn't slept at all. It was so challenging to get through the day and stay positive. I couldn't be the constant doer anymore. I had to, quote, just be. To practice stillness without guilt. to relinquish the belief that my worth came from effort, from external validation, and what I accomplished. Fears crept in about getting through work, school, and still being a good mom. It took more strength to let go than to push. But what was this moment actually doing? It was answering the very prayer I had asked. It was forcing me to slow down and trust in something greater than myself. I didn't have control over when I woke up or how the next day was going to unfold. I couldn't control the outcome. My only job was to show up, put in effort, and let go. Prayers aren't always answered the way we expect. If things were given freely without effort or surrender, we likely wouldn't learn the lesson. We wouldn't grow or build character. Prayers and miracles are unfolding every day, yet we're often too distracted to see them. The challenge isn't a punishment. It's the very path through which your prayer is being answered. Mm-hmm. She quotes, I asked for strength and God gave me difficulties to make me strong. I asked for wisdom and God gave me problems to learn to solve. I received nothing I wanted. I received everything I needed. Thanks, Winona.
That's beautiful.
So beautiful. And it's interesting, you know, of course, our listeners write their letters before we record the episode. But I think it dovetails beautifully into everything we shared today. So we hope you found both what we shared and what Winona shared with all of us inspiring. Remember to share this podcast with everybody you know. Go to Apple Podcasts, write 5-star reviews, share your stories, inspirations, comments, ideas with Monica and myself by writing to Monica and Michael at spirituallyhungry.life. Monica and Michael at spirituallyhungry.life. You inspire us. You inspire our listeners when we get a chance to share your sharings with them. As always, we hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it.
Stay spiritually hungry.